So it's lunchtime, somewhere in the world at least, and how about some leftovers? Now, it raises a question. How long do you keep leftovers before they go bad, before they spoil? Well, take a look at some food here that I have. Here's a nice little burger. You can see the burger, the patty inside there. I've got some fries here as well. If you want fries with your burger, you see them. Let's see if I can show them for the camera. Some fries for the burger, and we realize that the goal of most of the I can't talk and show food at the same time. I'm a guy. What can I say? Here's a chicken finger of some kind, and then some crackers. Hey, crackers. We realize that the goal of most of the food industry, it's really all about producing and processing food as quickly and efficiently as possible. So that means grow it fast. You want some stuff that ships easily, it stores for a long time and still looks good. It tastes good enough to cause you to want to eat more of it. So that means putting sugar and fat and salt into it. But how old? Speaking of storing a long time, this stuff, this food, see this burger? You saw the fries. This stuff I bought and I unwrapped it and I put it in an open box on a shelf in the garage. It was early summertime and it got hot in that garage and there was bugs in that garage. And at the end of the summer, I opened the box and I looked at it. There was no mold. There was no decay. There was some discolorization. The bugs had not touched it, so I left it in the box. And it stayed there. And it stayed there. And that winter, we had some mice in the garage. And the mice chewed and got into everything. I mean, they chewed on the box, but they didn't touch the food. Chicken finger, chicken fry. And this was a slice of white bread that I squeezed into a ball. I just squeezed into a ball. And I didn't show you this yet either. This was a slice of processed cheese, the kind of the individually sliced. I broke a piece off here or something like that. It goes like that. It discolored, right? It discolored, but not really much smell to it at all. And then one of these little Lunchables that people send for their kids. Again, the processed cheese discolored the crackers. The mice didn't touch it. And I left it in the box, and the next spring it was still looking kind of like this. And I left it in the box and kind of forgot about it. And then I had written the date on the box. I opened it up. Guess how old the food is? You want to guess? Next month, this food will be 10 years old. 10 years old. 10 years old. And you think, mold didn't want to eat it. Bugs didn't want to eat it. Mice didn't want to eat it. So why do we want to eat it? It tastes good. And why didn't it break down? Why didn't it do anything? I mean, here's an apple core that, kind of gross, I know, but it's only a couple hours old. And it's already starting to break down. Why? Because it's got lots of live enzymes in it. This is dead food. It doesn't have those live enzymes in them. But why else? And maybe you're saying, well, I don't eat that kind of stuff, at least not too often. A couple of studies that I came across that were shocking to me. One of them said that 92% of Americans, the other one said 97% of Americans, so we could say between 92 and 97% of Americans do not get the RDA or the MDR. RDA stands for Recommended Daily Allowance. MDR stands for Minimum Daily Recommendations. And so those are what have been put out that's a minimum number of nutrients you need, amount of nutrients that you need to not be optimal and vibrantly healthy, but to avoid the most severe deficiency diseases. And between 92 and 97% of Americans do not get that much. That don't even reach that threshold. Kind of crazy, eh? And I think there could be a couple reasons for it. Number one, I think, is the depleted soil and the factory farming that goes on. the point is just to get it, like we said, to get it growing fast. And vegetables, just as an example, today we can grow 10 times the amount of wheat and rice in a field that they could grow 100 years ago. Now, do you think that field has 10 times the amount of nutrition for the plants to absorb? So do you think the resulting produce has the same amount of nutrition? You see, the field doesn't have to be 10 times as rich to grow 10 times the amount. Why? Because we have faster growing strains of plants. But in addition, we use lots of what are sometimes called superphosphate fertilizers. And if you've ever put in fertilizer on your grass or your garden, you know that the fertilizer has 3 numbers, right? There's nitrogen, there's phosphorus, there's potassium. And really all a plant needs to grow, to look green and lush and have a good root and have good fruit are those 3 elements. So all you need to do is put those 3 elements, nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus, into the soil or onto the plant, or give it to the plant, feed the plant with it, and it can grow and produce and look really good. But what your body needs to get, what my body needs to get from that plant, is much more than nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. It needs to get dozens and dozens and dozens of trace minerals. And so when the plants are growing using factory farming methods, you're not getting those nutrients in it. In addition to that, there's herbicides, there's pesticides that not only kill the weeds and the pests, but they also kill the microorganisms in the soil. And those microorganisms are vital to help to increase the bioavailability of the minerals and the nutrients in the soil so that the plants can absorb them. Now you may say, well, what about organic? I take organic. I eat as much organic as I can. I think it's a great idea because organic doesn't have the herbicides and the pesticides, doesn't have the superphosphate fertilizers, but organic does not mean that what I'm getting has the nutritional value that my body needs. Organic refers more to what is not put on the plants than what is given to it. And I'm talking about plants, but a similar kind of thing goes for animals, right? Animals are fed stuff that fatten them up quickly, that grow them quickly. I'm in one report that I read at a certain particular feedlot that was studied. Those cows were given 1 pound of antibiotics a day. Why? Not because they were so sick, although they were so sick. The vets at that lot said that if they weren't slaughtered within about a month, they would just die because they were that unhealthy. But the antibiotics are given because they can speed the growth of the animals. Okay, so that's depleted soil and factory farming, and there's other reasons. There's the handling and the processing of food. Once it's harvested, food and plants are typically picked green. And one study I read showed how much nutrient value gets condensed into the plant just in the last 5 to 10 days of ripening under the sun, naturally. So when those plants are picked green, they don't get that chance to absorb that high percentage of nutrients. And then they're sprayed or they're irradiated to control the ripening process. As well, much of our food is processed, or I would like to call it's reduced and stripped away. So you take the wheat, you take away the wheat germ, because it's the wheat germ that is the part that will go bad, because it's the life part. You take that away. It's the wheat germ that mold will grow on. It's the wheat germ that bugs are attracted to. It's the wheat germ that will go rancid. And so you take that away, and you end up with these processed grains, these processed foods, these things. And you know what's really, really just like terrible is they take all that stuff away and then they sprinkle a couple vitamins in and they call it enriched, which is really a joke. It's like if somebody broke into your house, they took your TV, they took your electronics, they took your computer, they took your jewelry. And then when you walked in and you saw this, you saw that they've just robbed you of all kinds of stuff. And there on the kitchen table is a note with a $10 bill. And it says, "You should be grateful. I've just enriched you. Here, take a 10. That's what they do with food. Enriched. Yeah, right. Another reason is our exposure to chemicals. And we talked about the chemicals, the herbicides, the pesticides, but also the chemicals that are added into it during the processing, right? The additives, the preservatives, the flavoring agents, the coloring agents, that they're tested and they're safe for human consumption. But what do they do over time? And what do they do when they add up and when they react with one another? And you see, that in the processing of the food ends up making the food into something that our body doesn't recognize it in the same way that it would recognize food. Our body doesn't process it in the same way that our body would process food. In addition to that, we're exposed to all kinds of chemicals in the air that we breathe, the water we drink, and so forth, and they add an extra weight, an extra load, an extra stress to our body. And that leads us to the next factor, which is lifestyle, and particularly stress. We sit in traffic, we watch the news, we watch some TV crime drama or something like that, and our body goes into stress mode. Our body goes into stress mode. It produces stress hormones, which our body is not designed to have circulating over extended periods of time. And so our body is in hyper mode, and yeah, we don't feel hyper because we're so used to normal, but that creates an incredible weight, an incredible demand on our body, so our bodies need more replenishing than ever before. So, what do? Stop eating? Well, no, you keep eating because our body needs food. But I think those reasons just underline why supplementation, that's why I take supplements. And that's why I think supplementation is really, really a smart way to go, because I want to ensure that my body, I want to do what I can to ensure that my body has the nutrients it needs, not just to survive, but to experience vibrant, optimal health. Well, don't just go and get any kind of supplements, because studies within just the last couple of years, one study said 4 out of 5, the next study said 3 out of 6, another study said 1/3 of 44 products tested had no trace of what was on the label. And we're talking about nationally distributed products. No trace of what was on the label. And in another study, 19 out of 24 products tested had things in them that were not on the label. Things such as wheat, things such as gluten, things such as houseplant fiber. So just crap. So don't just go and buy the cheapest kind of product. In addition, don't just go and buy the highest quality of product. I see so many people wasting their money on supplements because they buy the cheapest, or because they randomly buy something that's more expensive, thinking that they're going to get their body something more than what it needs, but they really don't know what their body needs. And that's why it's vitally important to understand how the body works, to understand the fundamental needs of the body, and to really get a good understanding of what are the intrinsic principles related to health and nutrition that our body needs. And so in the next video that I'm going to do, I'm going to share with you some really important stuff that we've seen tested and proven for over 30 years. How does the body work? What are some of the fundamental needs of the body? And what are some of those intrinsic principles of how the body works? Until then, hey, enjoy your lunch. And it's okay to eat it once in a while.